Legend has it that Ernest Hemingway was once challenged to write a 6-word story, and his response was, "For sale, period, baby shoes, period, never worn, period." Now you might be wondering why I chose to start my first solo episode with an Ernest Hemingway metaphor that seemingly has nothing to do with discovering well-being. However, Hemingway embraced the challenge to let go of unnecessary words, to simplify, and I believe we can approach discovering well-being in much the same way. By the way, I decided to use 6 words for my title, which sums up the episode beautifully. It's my story, period, this podcast, period, for you, period. In this initial episode, I won't be teaching anything. It's just an episode for you to get to know me and my intention behind starting the Discovering Wellbeing podcast. Everything I share is rooted in decades of experiences marked by triumphs, challenges, and beauty. I suspect you might find relatable. I want to invite you to hear my story as a way to empower your journey towards living and loving and leading well from within, so you can manifest the life you envision and deserve. So let's dive in. Since I was young, I have been a lover, capital L-O-V-E-R, of nature, of animals, of people, and places. What I've come to learn is that each of these shaped who I am today in their unique and collective way. As a young girl, I was fortunate to have pets, and those relationships with my pets allowed me to carry my essence and my expression out into the world, because I got to show them at the county fair, in dog shows, and horse shows. They were truly gifts to me in more than one way. It wasn't until years later that I fully understood the impact of these relationships. I'll share more about that soon, but for now, know that these experiences allowed me to discover a safe haven, a place of peace, where I could recalibrate my mind, body, and soul. As a child, I couldn't name this, but I knew that there was something special about the giving and receiving energies that were taking place. Now, on the flip side, when I was out in the world, at school, in my groups, in my community projects, which I love dearly, I was entering into a space with a lot of people and a lot of energies that weren't my own. And I often felt overwhelmed. I was extremely sensitive to their emotional states. I could feel their sadness. I could feel their pain. I could feel the dissonance. It took me decades to realize that I'm a highly sensitive person. The acronym is an HSP, if you're familiar with it. A trait that I've come to know that I've had from the very beginning. It explained so much of what was happening. This sensitivity, however, had a significant unforeseen outcome. When I was 10 years old, I developed an autoimmune disease called colitis, which left both my doctor and my family shocked. I was his youngest patient with a condition that typically affected much older people who had accumulated decades of stress in their body. My doctor explained to my mother that this was a worrying disease. It was stress-induced. He prescribed me medication, and thankfully, 4 years later, I was no longer experiencing symptoms of the autoimmune. However, he didn't give me the stress management skills that I needed. So I dealt with my internal state and the external world to the best of my abilities. I was then in my 20s. I was still experiencing low-grade anxiety, which felt just like a constant state of imbalance. Fast forward to having 3 amazing children in my 30s. One came down with severe health issues. We saw over 20 doctors in 8 years and had nothing really to show of progress. We had a drawer full of pills that showed the time, money, and energy that we expended. But it was truly the experience that opened my eyes to the importance of a holistic well-being strategy. It was through caring for this child and through all of the conversations with primary doctors, specialists, and holistic doctors that I began to see just how sensitive, how complex, how individual the sources and symptoms are. To support my child and our family more effectively, I had to take a closer look at my own health and well-being because I knew that I hadn't fully put the life oxygen mask on the way that life was calling out for me to do. This was a big T transformation that needed to happen quickly. The unconscious thoughts, beliefs, and habits that kept showing me that things were not taken care of. And all the ways I was moving through life needed to be redesigned. I began to see the patterns and the experiences that were keeping me and my family on a continuous cycle of imbalance, disempowerment, confusion, and separation. But about halfway through my child's journey to health, there was a moment when I awakened, very similar to when I was in the doctor's office, when he started to share that worrying caused my colitis. Well, worrying is energy, stress energy, that was present again in my life. But this time, it was not just my own situation, but it belonged to all of us. Each of us were having our own individual and collective stress responses to the conditions, to the environment. It was at that moment when I committed to reclaiming my health, my life, my family's well-being, and my future that all of the doors began to open. The awakening in that moment led me down the path that I still walk today. Within weeks of making that decision, I found myself in class after class of yoga and meditation, studying feng shui to understand how energy was moving through me and around me. That alone brought me back to the remembering when I held my pets and the unconditional love would come forward. That timeless expression of energy that created a sensation of oneness, the sense of harmony and balance that I felt in my mind, body, and spirit was happening again. I was able to practice self-compassion and self-responsibility in a whole new way. And feeling that I was supported by the universe and that I had the tools that I could use day in and day out. These timeless teachings that I was learning are invaluable. They're immeasurable. I use them every day throughout the day in my relationships, in my work, in my life. When I began to see all of it in its wholeness is when I reconnected to the internal and external state of balance, of harmony, because it is a state of oneness. These were new approaches and a new pathway for me to live, and I discovered how simple it was. It became the foundation for everything else to flourish. I was able to grow, my family was able to grow, and we were able to get through some very, very difficult situations. And now I'm able to say to my clients, I'm not only certified, but I'm well qualified to serve you because I've been there. I've done it, and I know how to guide you. I invite you to come back week after week to get the nuggets of gold that you need in your life, to have new awakenings, learnings, reflections, to evolve your relationships, your health, your business, your career, whatever it is, because it's all interconnected. Before I end this episode, there are a couple other puzzle pieces of my life journey that I'd like you to know to better understand my holistic sacred view of life. I've helped thousands of men and women look and feel and lead at their best. This has come over the decades through roles that I've had in various companies that I've started, projects that I've been involved with. From my degree in urban planning when I first began to see everything in living systems, to my career at Nordstrom managing teams and departments and serving clients, getting certified in various forms of yoga, meditation, breath work, stress and well-being, and many, many more. All of this is to say that I'm here for you as a resource, as a guide. My wish for you is that this podcast becomes a sacred container that ignites you to be more of yourself, to be more for each other, and to be more in the world. It's really that simple. Thank you so much for tuning in to this inaugural episode. And as a reminder, Monday episodes will be solo episodes and Fridays will be guest interviews. So don't be shy, hit the subscribe button and share with your friends. This is going to be an ongoing, rich conversation full of wisdom, full of new holistic health products, conversations, and ways that you can take into your life and into your leadership to create that well-being that's waiting for you.